Well, what's going on there, folks? Earthmaster here, jumping in on this April 8th, 2021, Thursday afternoon here in Arkansas. It's about 12:37 p.m. And taking a look at the earthquake map there shows a pretty good sized earthquake striking the Alaska region. It's coming off of a 5.7 magnitude quake there in the blue circle right there. You can see quite a few folks reported feeling this 5.7 earthquake there southeast of Cantwell, Alaska. Roughly about 77 kilometers below the surface. A little bit of specific activity shows definitely some historical activity in there. Of course, Alaska along that major plate boundary there with the subduction area in the red line, in that red plate boundary right there. Quite a few folks, like I mentioned, did report feeling this here. Let's go ahead and check this out real quick if I can get some internet feed. But then again, maybe I won't, because I tell you what, the service here where I'm staying right around Little Rock is not too good, let me tell you. See if I can refresh this real quick here, if it's going to let me. Okay, there we go. It actually works. I'll be darned. Here's the did you feel it responses. Quite a few folks reported feeling that. Looks like around Cantwell, of course, 82 kilometers distance. While this is not a major quake, this is definitely some more significant seismic activity along the western part, or eastern part, I should say, of the Pacific Plate. There's been a tremendous amount of activity along the west coast, inland into the North American Plate. And we definitely have seen some swarms around the Aleutian Islands area with some minor activity, somewhat moderate earthquake activity. But now this 5.7 striking inland at a not a deep depth, but not surface quaking either. 77 kilometers is down there a little ways. We have seen some deeper movement in the past, and of course Alaska is known to get some significant earthquake activity along that plate boundary and subduction zone south of the Anchorage area. Let's go ahead and check real quick, see if I can find this here. Like I say, I'm on a different computer. I'm 1,700 miles away from home at the moment. There is the Alaska range right there, of course, that provided by plate tectonics. Historical seismic activity shows quite the amount of earthquake activity around the region. You know, so 5.7 isn't a surprise for anyone for that matter. You can see the heightened earthquake activity since about 1900 or so. But looking at, you know, all the activity we've seen over the last week and a half, 2 weeks of very quiet activity over here to the western part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, and heightened earthquake activity to the north in Alaska and also along the west coast, tells me that something's definitely brewing. Of course, you know, earthquake activity in earthquake areas are normal, right? But at heightened levels for an extended amount of time is something to watch and be concerned about there. I do want to go back here over the last 7 days and check out the activity, the 4.5 and above. Yesterday, I believe it was earlier yesterday, we've seen a pretty good swarm of earthquakes there around the Japan area. I was kind of watching this area pretty closely and was waiting for something more significant to happen. I was expecting around a 6.0 or greater along the plate boundary over here of the Pacific Plate, but we have not seen that. And today, it's been relatively quiet in that region. The activity was picking up down south here along the Kermadec Islands over the last 7 days. But like I say, we haven't seen that significant offset up here to the northwest like we would expect to see after all this movement with the Pacific Plate. So once again, the magnitude 2.5 and above for the U.S. does not show any significant movement over here to the west. 5.0 Indonesia area, and of course some further movement over here along the Kermadec Trench area, continuing to apply, no doubt, amount of pressure up here to the north. But just like I say, we're waiting for a little bit of release of pressure, much more than a 4.0 will do, in order to offset the Pacific Plate. I believe we're looking at a significant stronghold over here In the North American side, a lot of pressure being built up in this region. We're looking at potential swarming down there in Southern California. We'll go ahead and check this real quick. Let's go to the all magnitudes for that activity. Like I say, I'm in a motel room right now, so it's kind of hard to work on an extra computer here on a super slow internet connection. There is the swarming activity there along the Imperial Fault System south of the Salton Sea region. The earthquake activity has been going since about early this morning. And you can see that pretty large cluster right there. Let's go ahead and zoom in real quick and see quite a bit of earthquake activity in this region here. Most of this is going to be microquakes. Hold on a second, let's get rid of that. Only about 20 earthquakes, but it's definitely a swarm right there on the Imperial Fault. Most of it, like I said, is microquake activity, 3.7 being the largest. Whenever we do see swarms here in Southern California, it's always something to worry about, because you got the San Andreas Fault System up here to the north that has been having a lot of earthquake activity on both sides of the plate, the Pacific side and the North American side. So a lot of people are saying, well, this is normal. Well, whenever you have this activity around a sleeping giant like that, it's good to be on guard. There's no fear mongering, but it's good to make people aware that we're looking at heightened earthquake activity in this very sensitive area with a tremendous amount of stress built up over the years in Southern California. And not to mention the obvious stress up here to the north. So it's just not down in Southern California. We're looking at activity in the central part of the San Andreas Fault as well, stretching across as a line over to Nevada, which is kind of odd. But we are seeing earthquake activity inland there off of the San Andreas Fault with some no doubt incredible pressure out here along the west coast and the North American continent at that. And as I mentioned before, the Alaska activity, we've been seeing quite a few microquakes and some smaller quakes in the region. But that 5.7 struck just a short time ago, originally a 5.9. And inland at not a super deep earthquake, but deep nonetheless. Some of these other ones, these microquakes and smaller earthquakes here, such as this 3.0 that struck just a short time ago, shows some much deeper movement at 137 kilometers below the surface, right there at the inland, north of the subduction area of this plate boundary right here. You got the subduction area down here. This area is very capable of producing a 9.0 earthquake, folks. It's been a while. I can't remember when the last one was. I think it was sometime in the 60s. But we can see, some much larger ones than we have seen in the last 24 hours, such as this 5.7. I don't think we'll see a 9.0 up here, but it's possible that we could get some further release along the subduction area of the Pacific plate there. And there's you don't have to have a rocket scientist to tell you the pressure out here in this region is great, and it has been for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now. So it's just a matter of time before we see some significant larger movement. I'm talking 7.0 or greater along this area of the Pacific plate before we see adjustment and release of some worry out here along this area of the plate. So be on guard, folks. I'm going to jump off here because it's probably a little bit longer than I wanted it. It's kind of hard to upload on a very slow network, but I definitely need to do updates on this as this activity is definitely heightened. Be on guard, folks, and stay alert out there, or be alert for sure. I was trying to get the tremor map to show up here, but it's just, I tell you what, it's just extremely slow. It's extremely slow. Maybe Arkansas might want to work on their internet connections out here, but that's okay. At least we have internet. There's no doubt. Definitely not knocking Arkansas because it's absolutely beautiful out here. Everything's green. Right now it's sunny. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Please stay safe, and I will provide further updates as I feel necessary. But for now, we're still looking for either some further movement along the Western Pacific at a much higher magnitude, or possibly continued buildup of pressure along the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest area for some further large-scale movement as well. Yellowstone National Park, real quick, you can see that 6.7 showing up on quite a few seismographs. We haven't really seen too much swarming going on there at Yellowstone Park, but there is some right around the north of the Caldera region, around the Norris Junction area, and also up here to the northeast of the Yellowstone National Park region. So we're keeping an eye on things, folks. We'll keep updating as necessary. Hope everyone has a good day, and we'll chat you guys a little bit later. Peace out.